Our reading this morning is a poem entitled "The Star" by Anne and Jane Taylor, written in 1806. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the blazing sun is gone, when he nothing shines upon, then you show your little light. Twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Then the traveler in the dark thanks you for your tiny spark. He could not see which way to go if you did not twinkle so. In the dark blue sky you keep, and often through my curtains peep, for you never shut your eye till the sun is in the sky. As your bright and tiny spark lights the traveler in the dark, though I know not what you are, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. How I wonder what you are. Good morning, everyone. I bet you didn't expect that meeting, did you? Well, our reading this morning was a poem written over 200 years ago. I chose it primarily because I thought it reflects humankind's age-old fascination and curiosity about the cosmos. For thousands of years, we have used astronomical events to predict and understand events here on Earth, and have even created horoscopes to predict human personalities. It is where we put heavens and the homes of the gods. We climb mountains in an attempt, so it seems, to depart this mortal Earth and get a little closer to the stars. But I also chose it because at the time it was written, we were in the middle of an amazing period of discovery on the frontiers of new science about the universe, the stars and their composition and origin, the philosophical and scientific study of the nature of the universe, cosmology. In 1806, when that poem was written, scientists had pretty much accepted that the Earth revolved around the sun. The Catholic Church had given up its opposition to that idea only 50 years earlier. It's quite amazing. But space was so full of unknowns, we thought it was empty. We knew the sun was a star like so many others, and there were many other stars in the universe, but the debate had not yet concluded whether the universe was infinite or whether the number of stars in the sky was infinite. It was also about that same time in 1780 that the Unitarian Joseph Priestley declared that Christian doctrine is not fixed, that it must rely on intellectualism and reason. And also about the same time as Anne and Jane Taylor were writing their poem, a Universalist minister named Hosea Ballou was writing his treatise on atonement, a document that exposited the basis of Universalist thought at the time. That is, God's nature was goodness, and that if God gave us the power of reason, then we should use it. Those events were but two in a series of important turning points in Unitarian Universalist history, whereby we broke the bonds of dogmatism and entered in the realm of free thinking. Unitarians and Universalists were constantly challenging dogma, the divinity of Jesus Christ and other forms of idolatry, the need for baptism, the idea of original sin, the sanctity of the Last Supper, concept of the Holy Communion, and eventually comprehending a universe without a creator. Unitarian and Universalist thought was constantly evolving. There's a great pamphlet you can purchase or you can read free online on the UUA bookstore site entitled Science and Religion, a Unitarian Universalist Perspective. The author, Helen Lutton Cohen, writes that UUs have historically viewed science and religion as compatible. We see today how so many religions, particularly fundamentalist Christianity, must deny science for their dogmas and philosophies to prevail. Cohen goes on to say, in order to understand ourselves as a religious movement, to know our roots, we need to know how vital to its formation this openness to science and all new knowledge was. Both Unitarian and Universalism emerged out of Calvinist Protestantism at the end of the 18th century, embracing the sense of human possibility, progress, and reason that had developed during the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. She goes on to say, our movement was founded in the context of a growing curiosity and optimism about the world. And David Bumbaugh, if you haven't read David Bumbaugh's book, it's the best kind of summary of Unitarian Universalist history. In his book, Unitarian Universalism, A Narrative History, says, there was nothing placid or complacent about Unitarian Universalism as it confronted the 21st century. As it had so often in history, he says, the movement burst the banks of conventional religious thought. So look at what's happened to us as a result of our fearlessness and our intellectualism. Who are we? We are now an amalgam of Christians, Jews, humanists, Buddhists, atheists, agnostics, neo-pagans, earth-centered traditionalists, feminists, scientists, spiritualists. And I use the word amalgam rather than collection, amalgam, because we are more than a loose collection of belief systems or philosophies, but rather an organic whole, constantly reevaluating itself, learning, exploring our boundaries, and growing. That's why I'm here. And how about you? And that brings us to the present moment. How will this intellectual nimble-mindedness affect who or what we are, as current science is redefining the very core of our existence, the makeup of the atoms in our body, and the universe in which we live? Where will reason, conscience, experience, and courage take you? And where will it take our UU faith? On November 7th, 2010, I spoke before this congregation with a message entitled Sermon on the Rock. Some of you may recall that. That's when I had the little rock that went and got me a cup of coffee. You had to be there. It was about what I called the true creation story. That is, the story of the creation of our universe as revealed by modern-day scientists and the wondrous occurrence of human life on this planet. It is a story more marvelous and more fantastic than any myth or fable created by humans, because, to the best of our reasoned scientific knowledge, it's all true. At that time, I said that I had learned that the universe was 14,700,000,000 years old. That was the time since the Big Bang. But of course, that was 1 year, 7 months, and 10 days ago. So I suppose now the universe is 14,700,000,000 and 1 year, 7 months, and 10 days old. Well, that makes sense, no? No, of course not. The fallacy in that statement is that when dealing with such large numbers as the age of the universe, small numbers, such as the period of time between my talks here, are of no consequence. The small numbers are overshadowed by the magnitude of the large number. They're swallowed up by the margin of error in estimating the larger number. The smaller number becomes insignificant and should be ignored. The Earth was 14,700,000,000 years old then, and it's 14,700,000,000 years old now. I think you see where I'm going. There is, as you may have already surmised, a much larger issue here. As science continues to develop its base of knowledge and theories about cosmology, the geometry of the universe, the relationships among matter, energy, time, space, and gravity, we human beings do appear to be getting smaller and smaller, less and less significant, overshadowed by the complexity and grandeur of it all, swallowed up by the immensity of all else there is. Maybe we are irrelevant, unimportant. We should be ignored. Certainly the rest of the universe ignores us, so to speak. It is not affected in any way by our existence, who we are, or what we think. And if we cease to exist tomorrow, the universe would continue on unabated in its relentless expansions, contractions, recreations, maybe a few more big bangs. The Earth is estimated at 4.5 billion years old, but we human beings, or what can better be described as human-like beings, made our appearance only 200,000 years ago. Again, a very small period. About 1/1000% of the age of the universe. I once asked a friend of mine, who I can safely describe as a qualified Christian theologian, why God waited 14,700,000,000 years to introduce humans to the planet Earth. And his response was, God is infinitely patient. This is true. So I asked then, if the human race were to destroy itself, as it seems hell-bent on doing, the universe would continue to exist. For what purpose, I asked. He responded that God wouldn't let that happen. So I guess there's an answer for everything, as long as you don't need to prove it, and you're prepared to sacrifice your God-given powers of reason. But knowing, or shall I say estimating, the age of the universe is but one of many grand and glorious bit of relatively recent science that seems on the surface to make humanity somewhat less significant than our ego would otherwise allow. Consider the following as I attempt to make you feel as small and insignificant as I can. Let me know how I'm doing. Just four points. Number one, the universe is expanding and has been doing so since the Big Bang. In fact, that expansion is accelerating. It's been described kind of like a loaf of bread, a loaf of raisin bread. As the loaf of bread rises, all the raisins inside kind of move away from each other. Can you remember the scene from Woody Allen's Annie Hall? I love Woody Allen. Every time I speak here, I try and do a little Woody Allen somewhere. But there's a scene from Annie Hall where young Alvy Singer, that's Woody Allen's persona when he was a little boy, young Alvy Singer, he's sitting on the couch in the doctor's office next to his mother. And his mother's saying, he's been depressed. All of a sudden, he can't do anything. The doctor then asks, why are you depressed, Alvy? Little 9-year-old Alvy answers, the universe is expanding, and the universe is everything. And someday it will break apart, and that will be the end of everything. His mother goes on to explain that he's even stopped doing his homework. And Alvy responds, so what's the point? And of course she says, in great Woody Allen style, Brooklyn is not expanding, you're here in Brooklyn. And of course the doctor says, it won't be expanding for billions of years yet, Alvy, and we got to enjoy ourselves while we're here, huh? It was a great scene. And so young Alvy has concluded that there is no meaning to our existence. It appears to have no ultimate goal. We're just here, and in cosmic time, we're gone. Do we really matter? Maybe the doctor was right. Maybe we just need to enjoy ourselves. What do you think? Number two. So, not only does the Earth not form the center of the universe, as we thought many, many years ago, but neither does our sun, and neither does our galaxy. Rather, there is nothing at all special or unique about where we are. The universe, in scientific terms, is isotropic. That means if you went out and from one point and took maybe a pie-shaped piece out of the universe over this direction and you did the same thing in the other direction, it would all be just about the same. No matter which direction you look, like a piece of pie. The universe is the same, containing the same number of stars, planets, energy, mass. As a matter of fact, no place in the universe can even be identified as the starting point of the Big Bang. In other words, we can't even find out where it all began. And I haven't even discussed the theory that there are many other universes out there besides ours, which is a whole other topic. So here we are, an inconspicuous grain of sand in the Sahara Desert of the universe. Are you still feeling like we really matter? The third point. Let's look at the stuff that makes up our universe. It's called matter energy. And for those of you with a scientific bent, you remember Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared. Everything is either matter or energy, and they kind of go back and forth between each other. Ordinary matter, the stuff we see. This, me, you, light, heat, everything. All the energy, all the matter. The stuff we see, we feel, which composes our grain of sand, everything we see and feel in the universe accounts for only about 4% of the makeup of the universe. That's hard to believe. About 25% of our universe is composed of dark matter. It's called dark matter because it doesn't reflect light, it doesn't give off light, it doesn't absorb light, it doesn't do anything. It's just there. And it can't be seen. But scientists say it must be there, and I won't go into all their reasons, but it's very cool reading if you want to get into it. Scientists say it must be there based upon many confirming observation. It's like an invisible cloud holding together the galaxies, like our own Milky Way. The remaining 70% of the stuff out there is dark energy. It occupies most of what we thought was empty space between the galaxies. And that's what's causing the universe to expand. So now when you look at those twinkling stars, you are unable to see or sense more than 95% of what is around us. Fourth point. Feeling real small yet? The number of stars in the heavens is almost beyond comprehension. Put number 1 and follow it by 23 zeros. That is the number of stars in the universe. And our own sun is what is called a main sequence star, meaning that it's the most common type of star. Nothing particularly interesting about it. Looks very much like most of the stars in the universe. We can't even get a notable star to light our Earth. So how important are we? So do we matter? When viewing mankind through the grandeur and complexity of the universe, are we important or significant? Let me ask you the same question, but in reverse. If humanity did not exist, would the universe matter? Right? Or would it just be energy and particles flying about with no purpose, no understanding, no conception of its own magnificence, no self-realization, no wonder, no beauty, nothing? The answer, I think, it is that our existence, our human intelligence, on this small little dot in the middle of nowhere, that gives substance and meaning to the entire universe, and in turn gives meaning to our own existence. We human beings are seeing deeper and deeper into the smallest atom and farther out into the distant reaches of the universe, back to the beginning of time. And what we cannot see, we can wonder and imagine using our creative minds, or we can theorize due to our ability to understand and analyze using the mathematics that govern it all. There is no intrinsic wonder in the universe. As scientists search, discover, and create, and as philosophers ponder the nature of reality and existence, the universe takes shape and dreams unfold. We are each of us scientists and philosophers in our own right. Each human being on earth, each stargazer, each poet, each wanderer brings the universe alive, and so gives it meaning. With that power and responsibility, so to speak, we have to ask ourselves, why do we waste our precious intellect hating each other, when each of us, by looking to the heavens, adds that additional spark of wonder and of awe and of meaning? Why do we make our universe smaller by pretending that all that matters is that which is near to us, rather than viewing each human being as an important living part of the cosmos? Perhaps that is our meaning: to discover, to understand, to bring life to the universe, and to nurture one another in our common pursuit of truth. So, is there a God? I'll give you 2 minutes to answer that. Is there a God? Well, we could also speculate or debate whether all of this is brought about by a first cause or a master architect or God or an intelligence beyond even our comprehension, whom we can never expect to fully understand. The Big Bang Theory, widely accepted by science, tells us that the universe was created spontaneously from an infinitesimally small, infinitely hot, infinitely dense something. It's called a singularity. But where did it come from? And why did it expand into a universe? We don't know. Although there is a good book out right now called The Universe of Nothing that postulates something. Other scientists argue that it was created from nothing. It was true creation, bringing something into existence that did not exist before. Space, time, energy, matter, gravity. There was nothing before, and the Big Bang brought it all about. In fact, the theory says that if you add up everything in the universe, the negative energy, the positive energy, the dark matter, the light matter, and you put it all together, you would have nothing. It just balances itself out. So, was creation a supernatural experience or just a natural experience? Does all this science reveal to you that there must be a God? And if there is that God likely to answer your prayer to hit the lottery? Or that the Phillies have a championship season? Perhaps it's really not important if there is a creator or not, depending on your viewpoint. Because if there was such an entity that could create this fantastic, seemingly limitless universe, that entity would be far beyond our comprehension, since we could barely understand what it created. I learned this just this morning. I was watching Sanjay Gupta on CNN, and he talked about how people are doubting more and more about the existence of God. I just think it's because people's eyes are opening up through the internet and through other ways about how broad and wonderful this universe is. Whether you believe or don't believe is not relevant, unless, of course, you perceive that this entity, outside of all reason, this God, communicates with you on a personal basis. And, of course, some people do believe that. So where are we going? I recently heard a presentation by Seth Shostak, is his name, a senior astronomer at the SETI Institute in California. And SETI is the place where they have all these radar devices out in the desert, and they're trying to search for extraterrestrial life. It's legitimate. And in fact, they're doing a better job every year. It's amazing the capacity that they have. And he tells us that virtually every star in the universe has planets. There are perhaps 1 trillion planets in our own Milky Way alone. But there are 1 billion galaxies out there. So, he says, maybe 1 in 1,000 planets is suitable for organic life as we know it. So, do the math. That means that there are 1 billion Earth cousins in our own galaxy. And in our universe, there are 1 billion Earth-like planets. Now, even if he's a little bit wrong, it's 1 in 10,000, 1 in 1 million. Still, they're out there. Yet, SETI has not uncovered one sign, not one indication of another, what we call a Goldilocks planet. You know, Goldilocks, everything is just right so we can grow here. Not one other Goldilocks planet where conditions are just right for intelligent life. Not one small signal that there's anything approaching intelligent communications. I have my own interpretation. Care to hear it? It's not because we haven't searched hard enough. It may be because that organic, intelligent life, by its own nature, is doomed to destroy itself. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe we've been there. Stephen Hawking, you know I'm sure, said, if we are the only intelligent beings in the universe, we should make sure that we survive and continue. And therein lies our moral responsibility to take care of one another, to protect this planet, to seek peace, practice compassion, taking care of ourselves, ensuring that the universe continues to have meaning. Because we're the only ones doing it. In the May 2012 issue of Newsweek, that's my final comment, Brian Greene, he's a professor of mathematics and physics at Columbia University, said the following. This is just 2 months ago. During the past 5 centuries, he says, we've used the power of observation and mathematical calculation to shatter misconceptions. From a quaint, small, Earth-centered universe to one filled with billions of galaxies, the journey has been both thrilling and humbling. We've been compelled to relinquish sacred belief in our own centrality. But with that cosmic demotion, we've demonstrated the capacity of the human intellect to reach far beyond the confines of ordinary experience to reveal extraordinary truth.